Welcome everyone, have a look at our latest creation, the enveloping Genie. Ready to fulfill your wishes regarding super long envelopes and tiny snappy ones. From 10 seconds per stage down to under a millisecond. Every parameter CV controlled. Grant the wishes for normal and inverted envelopes, linear and logarithmic ones, can run freely like an LFO, has an audio output to cosplay as an oscillator, comes with dual VCAs, and has timing controls for the two big guns. Okay, enough showing off. Let's go through the details. Let's have a look at the center section first, and this one is the easiest to use. We are looking at a pretty standard ADSR envelope with a gate input, an envelope output, which produces from 0 to 10 volt, a level control, and its CV input. This is the only CV control in this section, and it works like a VCA for the envelope. Whenever the Genie receives a trigger higher than 3 volt, the first stages start to run. The orange input listens to a rising edge and it starts ramping up. When it reaches the time limit set by the attack pot, it switches to the decay stage, runs through that, and then rests on the level set by the sustain pot. Once it detects a falling edge, it starts the release phase and the envelope is going back to its resting level. So far so standard. Let's look at the outer sections. The left and the right ones are identical. They are at heart ADSR envelopes as well, but they come with a ton of additional options. The biggest difference is that all the diodes are also available as CV inputs. Both are logarithmic and span a huge range, so be mindful what you feed the CV ins. In this case, I used 4 of the 8 LFOs of the triple oscillator in my rack. You can see that all 3 stages and the sustain level is animated now. You can also animate the level CV, which can be used to lower the combined signal when going into a mixer, for example, to adjust the level of the sound. So now let's talk about the option switches. The first one switches the mode from ADSR to AD. In this mode, the Genie does not wait for a falling edge. Pressing a key or sending a pulse always results in a rising and a falling level set with the A and D pot. R has no effect in this mode, and S, the sustain, sets the bias or starting level. One can even use the sustain alone as a steady voltage source. If that is your wish, the Genie will grant it. The blue level LED will always show the intensity present at the blue banana. If you flick the normal switch to inverted, everything is upside down. Your high levels will become low levels, the resting level is now 10 volt, and the envelopes will be subtracted from that. This is very useful to use on filters, for example. If you set one side to normal and control the level, and the other side to control the filter in the inverted mode, you shape your own version of a low-pass gate. The Genie can also do straight envelopes, or linear instead of logarithmic. The timing and levels are not affected, but the slopes are now straight lines. This kind of envelope is used to animate anything but levels, like panorama or resonance in a filter and such things. The last switch is the most powerful one. It tells the Genie to listen for a single input, to perform classic keystroke duties, or get into looping mode once a key is pressed, or the input is high otherwise. And on the lower setting, it turns the envelope into an LFO looping endlessly. On the lower edge of the module, you can also find the combined time adjuster. This trimmer and its respective CV input will simultaneously adjust the length of all 3 stages of the envelope. In looping mode, this is basically your frequency control for the LFO. And while we're at it, it can go pretty fast, up to 300 Hz. So we decided to add an actual audio output with 3 volt peak-to-peak where you can listen directly to the Genie's voice. Okay, so now that we're at the topic of audio, let's look at the last section in the upper middle. Here you find 2 logarithmic VCAs tuned to the levels of the Genie's envelopes. So let's plug the audio we got from one side into it and use the other side as its modulator. And this is where the fun starts. Changing the timing of the different stages now results in really interesting audio effects. You are changing the frequency and you're changing the chopping rhythm with it. I'm sure you will find even more crazy ways to use it. So let me say thanks for listening and have fun making sounds.